so you can make sure you can hear me over the game noise. Audio is important. We'll get into that. All right, so some of you might know me as Jazen Ooh. No, that's not my name. Jazen it's Jazen. Part of Cavern Angels Jade, and I see still new members to Squadrons, new players. Even though this game is definitely dying. But I have seen new players, and I always give like recommendations and stuff. And sometimes I feel guilty trying to give people recommendations because I play on a controller that has 3 back buttons I can use for power management, which we're going to get into in this video. So that gives me an advantage. It does, and I purposely sought out to get a controller I could be able to flip my power just by a press of the button. And I have that in a previous video how you can get that controller and set it up. And it is SCL approved. It's not a mod where it flips your power for you. You still have to press the buttons, and it's difficult even to do that for some people because the buttons on the back of that controller are really small. I had a couple other players try it, and they were like, "My fingers are too big." Blackheart impression. But I've had other people try it, and it's a janky controller. I mean, I've got 3 of them. It's not worth it, honestly. I got lucky. I got one that's been working really well, but you could get like a bunk controller. So honestly, everything that comes down for new players in this game, and I am not an expert. I am not the best pilot by any means. There are plenty of great video makers out there. Time Bomb and Fenkar, probably the 2 most well-known, really great pilots, way better than me, that make great videos. But sometimes it's hard for console players because they don't translate over as well. It teaches them a lot of good basic stuff. But I find there's stuff I have to help console players with, being a console player, to get them started, things that they can do. And a lot of it has to do with power management and how you fly and boost and drift. So the first thing we're going to talk about, let me pull up the controller scheme. Let's just get you started out this. The first advice I give a player is when you start out in this game, let me see if I can switch this custom to default. So default, let's look at your default settings. This is what you start off with. Your boost is on the L3. Everybody always tells me they have it on their R3. I'm like, that doesn't feel right. I know it's always been default L3, down on your joystick. No matter if it's down on L3 or down on R3. You don't want it there. Boost and drifting needs to be a kind of a precise as possible thing. The ratio between how quickly you boost to where you drift. That down on the stick, it does not provide that. It's not good enough for that. And most people move it to their left trigger. Me, I'm a little different. I moved my boost to L1, not L2. Most people do L2. Pick one, feel which one feels best for you. And I'll explain why it feels best for me to be on L1. I also have a different controller scheme set up than most other players. I've set a couple people up on this, and they do like it, I hope. I think Blackheart's one, and I think he's still using it, and I can't think of another player I've set up on this before, but it has to do with your focus, shield, convert, power, right? You see mine's on R1. Let's look at it at the default. The default, where is that? That is on square. To basically what it means is focus shields is where you direct when you're in a shielded ship, front or back, with your shields. Somebody's shooting at your back and you flip your shields to the back. You double tap at square. That's the other thing in your controller setup. You can choose for focus, shield, convert, power, tap, make it hold or tap, I believe. We could go look at that. Make it hold or tap. You want to make it tap. You want to make it so I think it's tap for shields to go to the back, double tap for the shields to go to the front. If you're going to keep it on square, it doesn't matter. If you want to change that, you don't want it to be hold. If it's hold, you have to hold it down and then use your joystick to select where you want your shields to go. Not what you want to do. You want to be able to make that a quick action, and hold it down to rebalance your shields too. So it'll be a tap to go to back of shields, double tap to go to front, and hold to balance. And those are important because you want to be constantly balancing your shields. The other part of that is for shunting ships like the TIE Fighter, TIE Bomber, and TIE Interceptor. You can shunt your power. We'll get into that and why I have this controller set up. So it's custom default, or default is set to square. I changed it to my R1. There you see it, focus shields, convert power. And I'll get into that when we get into shutting, why I moved it to there. Now, I had to sacrifice something. If you look at default, what is R1? R1's rewrite fire our auxiliary. Where do you want to put that is the next question I had to figure out. For me, and this is kind of a iffy thing to do. You could possibly put it down on your D-pad. Right now, your default down on your D-pad is balance power. Well, guess what? Turn that off. When you go to options to map your buttons, I'm not going to go into that. You can figure this part out. Go into where you map all the buttons where you want it to be, and just clear balance power. You will not use balance power. You'll never need it. You'll never need to balance your power. You don't want to. So get that off. So you could have down on the D-pad for your default to fire that right auxiliary, and that kind of sucks. I chose for down on the R3. And in the game, I'm in VR. That's the other thing. Today, if you see me flying, trying to explain this stuff, I'm flying on a controller, a PS5 controller I'm not used to playing on, and I don't have my back buttons, and I'm not in VR. So I'm not going to look smooth. And like I said, I am not the greatest pilot, but I hold my own. You know, I think I do pretty good for a console player. So I just want to help other console players get as good as me or better. And this is why I'm doing this video. So back to that subject of where you put your right auxiliary. Those are the two options I can see down on the D-pad. Could mess with your power doing that if you hit it wrong, though. You got to be careful of that. So I didn't like that idea either. Right on the stick is really quick. I always put my IM missile, things you want to like really dump really quick on somebody, like the IM missile, because I'm a flex player. I put that down on the right stick. For you, you might be a farmer. You might want to put your Golo on there. But Golos and IM missiles, the problem with that down on the right stick, I have the chance of accidentally dump firing them. And when I first started doing this, I was doing it all the time. I do it once in a great while. I don't do it as often as I used to. You get used to the not pressing down on the R3 until you need to. I used to hate it when I first played this game. The default is free look. If you're on a console, you can look around. It would screw me up, so I just unmapped it. So I never had free look, and then when I got on VR, you don't use that at all because you easily free look. VR is great if you could do it. If you're on PlayStation, I highly recommend playing this game in VR. All right, so it's right auxiliary is down on right stick. You'll see that my L1 top bumper on the left is boost, and fire left auxiliary is down on L2. Of course, my laser fire is R2, and again, that R1 is that focus shields convert power. Convert powers, the shunting. We'll get into that. All right, so those are the things, basic things. The other options, things you need to change in your controller setup if you're on console, on anything, but on console. We'll look at my thing here. Some reason the default is to not invert your look. Or invert your flight, which is stupid if you played any flying games, but you should know that. It's up to you for that. It doesn't matter. I don't use throttle friction. That's up to you. It won't do, but this is a must. Make sure this is turned off. Throttle down to stop boosting. Do not have this on your controller scheme. It will screw you up. Don't do it. Drift input mode, hold. Determine your control stream. You don't want it to be the double tap. Make that hold. Okay, drift input mode. Make it hold. Power management. Okay, so I do advanced even when I didn't have my back controller. Even before I had the back buttons on my controller, we'll get into advanced power. You'll see it's really difficult to do advanced power on a controller, and we're actually let's just put it to advanced to start, and I'll show you why. But I did. Before I even had my back buttons, I did advanced power, and I had that on a PS4 controller. I did that on for a long time, and man, it wore out the controller. Wore out my thumb, and I went back to basic for a while, and that's when I decided to get a controller. I could control it with my other fingers under the controller with 3 back buttons. It's awesome. And if you can get a controller where you can do that and you can make it go max power, because that's the issue, it's great. But if you get a controller that has back buttons, and when you press the back button, the power goes up. It takes a second to rise up. You have to really hold it down. That won't work. I found a controller that has it's programmable, that you can program it to when you hit that back button. I basically use the rapid fire function it'll say go all the way up. It'll record and say go all the way up in the power management. So you can just hit the button and your power will instantly go up like in weapons. again, this is another video I have. It's way down in my channel. I'm somewhere where I describe how to set up that controller. That's if you get the controller. You know, I want to make this for console players that are going to be like on a PS4, PS5, Xbox controller, and what they can do just to basically start out. I'll show. We're going to do advanced. I'll show you how hard it is. I mean, it feels hard to me now. I haven't done it in so long, but this is also a controller I never played on. So that's that. Shield, focus, and convert power. This part, make it combo. Don't make it selector. That's what it was. Combo. Input mode is hold. Input to keep the shield, focus, power conversion selector open. Release to close the selector. Toggle. You don't want it toggle, so just hold. And you want it combo. Combo is really the important part. Comms wheel input mode. Yeah, we don't have to worry about this stuff. So that's the main parts of that. Make sure the main thing, throttle down to stop boosting, turned off. Do not have that on. That will mess up your drifts, and we'll get into why. Okay? So I hope I've covered the basics of the controller setup. These are the first things I advise players to start getting used to before they start playing. All right, so this is advanced power. So what advanced power means is when you see how I have all my power in engines and I have power in 4 pips in weapons. Advanced power means I get total control where I want all that power to go. Like, I could just put like that and have a little bit of power and no power in engines, a little power in weapons, a little power in shields, right? Or just a little bit of... You're never going to do that. As I don't even have balance power on here to balance that out. The reason players do advanced power, it gives you a couple advantages. One is in your drifts. So you see I have all the power in engines. If I want to make my drift, we got to get into boost drifting. I guess that's where we should start. So when you boost and then drift, you see, and I barely drift because I have all my power in engines. I want to drift longer than that. So let's say I throw power and all the way into weapons, and now I drift just a little bit longer, right? Let's see that again. Oh, see, I'm really, really... Well, I'm going to keep it just here. This is called boost skipping. Now you see how my weapons are all charged, okay? So I got my thumb hitting the D-pad to do that, right? And my thumb's also my roll and my throttle. So let's get into boost. The fastest way to boost and accelerate is with boost drift, and we'll get into the different engines. This is a jet engine X-Wing. I am a flex player, so this is my baby ship. This is my favorite ship. That's why I went right to it. I love the X-Wing. It's where I feel at home at. Defender maybe be my second favorite. TIE Defender. We'll get into engines and what they do and all that. Just so you know, jet engine's probably one of the best engines for X-Wing. I would, but I can see the thought for Slam engine for console players. We'll get into the reasons why I think jet is the best. There's a lot of videos out there. All right, so the point, I have my boost on the bumper, and maybe I don't like it on this controller, the bumper either, but you could have it on left trigger. Either way, when you boost, two things you want. You want to be, two things you want. You want to be able to boost and hit that and hold. I'm holding that bumper down, or that you would be holding the boost button down. And hold it as long as you can before you start to run out of power and engines and lose your drift. So let's do that. And I want to be able to hold that drift as quickly as possible from when I boosted. So I'm boosting and immediately holding that drift. All right. So this is advanced power. This is not what I'm going to recommend new players to do. I'm not going to recommend you to do it. I'm just giving you an idea. So by me taking all the power out of engines like that, I hold my drifts even longer. Look how long that is compared to the other drifts. It's a lot longer when all the power's out of engines. So that's weapons to shields to weapons. I just did. The trick, if you do, and maybe I'll make a separate video on how to do advanced power on a controller, how I used to do it, is you have on the D-pad, I wish I could show you this, but you have on the D-pad, the left for engines, up on weapons, right on shields. What I'd do is I'd hit the weapons and shields in the corner. I'd hit both of them at the same time, like this. See that? How quick that is? It took all my power out of engines. And then I hit back, and then I have to double tap it again to get it back. So it's like this. I do that, and I hit it again. I use the sound to make sure I'm hitting that last, and see how you can mess it up. It's hard, and you get a rhythm for it. And sometimes you do that. That's fine. Point is, always make sure you're getting all the power out of engines. That's why you're hitting it like that. And you actually, Wookie Cheats, our support pilot, and Cavern Angels Jade thinks and I think he's right, if you take, there's skip things that happen. I believe it happens with boost. Wookie believes it happens even with lasers, and everybody knows it happens with shields. So I really need some enemies here to like take some hits on my shields now. Or actually, let me crash and I'll show you. No, we need some enemies. Let's get some enemies. So let's just play an enemy squadron. I'm going to suck at this, not beating VR. Because I want to take some laser hits to my shields. These are ray shields. That's a whole other discussion about what shields you use. Different opinions vary. I'm really going to suck on this since I'm not used to this controller. I was trying to take some hits here. Alright, see, I'm taking hits to my shields, right? Alright, now I'm gonna... You're trying to do what's called a shield skip. I gotta take all my power out of shields after a hit. Now I'm gonna... And then I get a shield skip. See how that's skipped? Now, if I have any power in my shields when I'm getting hit, that stops the skip. You got to make it fully charged. So I'm getting hit. I took my power out of shields. I'm going to hit it. I'm hitting the button wrong. But there's the skip. You see that? You can get a skip in your shield recharge. But if you're trying to do it and you put your power, let's say, in shields and you're getting hit, and you try to get them to recharge, it's got like a delay it causes too. So you have to kind of like make sure you're taking your power out of shields as they're getting hit, and when you get away, oh, see, I'm messing it up. Getting that shield skip. So that's advanced power. Why a lot of people do it. And Wookie says like you'll get a skip. So you know, I have no power in my weapons right now. So now I'm gonna put it in weapons, and now they seem like they do charge a lot faster. When you do take out, and I think that happens with boost. I think when you take all power out of engines and then you throw it back in, you get a little skip in your boost sometimes. Yeah, see, like a little 1 bar boost skip. Either way, I'm not teaching how to fly advanced. This is just an example of it. Look, there I am bouncing my shields by holding that bumper down I have it on. I keep rebalancing my shields. Let's see if I can get that shield skip. Nope, I got hit while I was doing it.
Let's get it off our tail then.
Man, I am really out of practice with this. That's how you do it. So you want your boost to drift, remember, as short as possible. Even if you're keeping your power in engines the whole time, this will keep your... You could, keep boosting a lot with jet engine. Look at that. And I'm just holding the drift. There's a little natural drift that happens, and I'm taking advantage of it by making each boost to drift as short as possible. That was a long one. So it's... See? It should be like a gun going off. It's not drawn out.
I'm being followed.
Ooh. The other thing is when you're drifting, you can turn while you're drifting in another direction when your power's out of engines. You can do things called boost skips, where you charge a system by holding that, and you can get a lot out of it by not just boosting like that. Don't just boost. You never want to just do that. You want to always be short boosts, power out of system. Or even if the power's not out of system, you don't. It's so hard for me to do this, so. Let's change it to basic. All right, so let's go to options. Remember where it was, under controls, and then you're gonna go down to power management. We're gonna make it basic. All right. So basic means I've always got 2 pips in a system and 1 maxed. So now I just have to tap that D-pad. I'm dead now, so that was a little hell. Let's see how I do. It's been a long time since I've done basic power too. But the whole point is to, every time you boost, your power is out of the system. So you're constantly taking that left thumb off the throttle. So you don't have as much control over your rolls because of that. But the amount of boost gain you get from it is great. The one thing you don't have is the shield skip. So yeah, I'm rebalancing my shields. I'm going to hit from behind. I can throw all my shields 1 tap to the back with that bumper I have selected. But I don't have that skip. That shield skip. Get a little bit of one if you do it right. Not a shield skip, but if you're getting hit from behind, let's say, and you flipped it to the back, balance it out once you get away. Try to take your power out of shields while you're being hit. So if I'm getting hit, I want to get my power out of shields as much as possible, because it's going to make it harder to regen once you get away. So I'm getting hit. I know most people are like, oh, throw it to shields, throw it to shields. No, wait. Wait till you stop getting hit. Balance what you have, and now recharge it. Now I get a little bit of a skip. Not like you do with advanced power, but you're not going to get that skip until you get away. You're not, well, not a skip, shield skip, but you're not going to get them really recharged until you get away from them. Then you want to throw your power into shields. So, you just got to remember, it's just got to tap that D-pad. Just flip your power back. Make it quick. My thumb's constantly going back and forth between the D-pad and my joystick to control my rolls. I'm not trying to shoot these AI players right now. I'm just trying to practice this myself because it's been so long. But you see how I'm always taking power out of my system before boosting. So what I do is, like, let's say I'm shields, then boost drift, back into engines. Shields, boost drift, back into engines. In theory, that should work. Rebalancing my shields by holding down that bumper. I'm not getting the shield charge I'm liking. Get the system power out of shields. Try again. I'm having troubles getting it back into engines. Yeah, I'm not getting your power back into engines. You're gonna die. Yeah, I get the power back into engines. Okay. Let's cover the one last thing about, we talked about power management using basic power. If you're new, again, reiterate, if you're a new player, don't do the advanced. You don't have to do the advanced. There are benefits definitely to advanced. It's really hard to do on a controller. So I get it, and there's you can definitely get really far in this game on basic power. I know some really good players that kick my butt that use basic power. You just don't get some of the advantages. But you can definitely, as good flying will make up for that, and good decision making will make up for that. What ship do we have here? Hold on, what checks? All right.
Looking for something specific?
So this last part here on flying mechanics, I'm going to cover for basic flying mechanics. We covered, your power management. Just remember, quickest ratio from when you hit the boost button to when you hit the drift. Let's review. So, and power always out of a system. So I'm a power in weapons. And see how quick it is from my boost to drift. Just start out practicing that and holding the drift. Boost, drift. Boost, drift. Now, do that with power out. Boost, skip. See how long I can hold that drift? And that's what makes a slam engine interesting for that, is because you don't lose the decay like I was losing it there, and you can kind of do those short drifts, like boost, skip stuff. So, oh shit, when the slam engine's working, when the servers are good, I don't have a slam engine build here. But when the slam engine is working good, actually I should do Y-wing. I don't think I have slam engine on that either, though. Shoot. When the servers are good, you can feel it, and you won't get that decay, and you'll get that boost kind of skip, putting your power back into it as you drift. But when it's bad, you'll see you get even decay, and you don't get the recharge. And that's why jet engines always has a quick recharge compared to slam. So that's it. Just remember short ratio to boost. But one thing I haven't covered here is throttle. Let's build up the boost bar and talk about it. So remember boost, drift, and holding that drift. You notice though, my throttle's at 0. Holding that drift. When you boost with your throttle at 0, look at that. Instant boost. I went all the way up. Let's see that max speed. Let's go down to 0 again. 208. If I boost again, 220 there. My throttle's at 0. 219. 220. See how I can keep boosting around like that, not even throw my power out of the system. Shoot the Glass is a friend of mine. He is the master of maximizing his boost, and he boosts around with his jet engine a lot and uses it to his max ability. He doesn't charge his systems as much as I would like, but he's really good at it. He's really good at staying evasive doing that. If you got to go evasive, it's not bad to just boost like this with a jet engine and boost around using a little bit of the drift that you get. You get a little bit longer drift, I think, too, by keeping the throttle at 0. But keep your throttle at 0 when you're boosting. Only move your throttle up is when you have to stop and actually maneuver without boosting. But when you're ready to boost, pull that throttle down. And just only use your stick to touch that stick to roll. Don't move your throttle up. You could have your throttle at half. That'll work too. But it's called zero throttle boosting. And the whole point of it is that you're going to instantly accelerate if your throttle's at 0. Now let's put the throttle all the way up and let me boost. See, I only went up to 270. There I hit 220. There I did not. 260. I'm barely picking up speed. If I hold it down, then I can do it. But you don't want to hold the boost down. You want it to be a quick. And see, I don't go very far. But if my throttle's down, I can do that use minimal boost, and I'm going to 220. See? And you hear what I'm doing. And immediately, here I'm boosting, immediately hitting drift and holding it. And I'm getting that. I'm going from 0 to 220 or so. It's better, though, when you're going to do it better if your power's out of the system. Because you get to hold that drifts longer. Like that. So just like that. Keeping the throttle at 0. I have to adjust and roll. That's what I don't like. I like to be able to roll a lot. And rolling doesn't help you a lot with evasion. It helps me a lot for steering and getting on target and getting angles on somebody when I'm shooting them. So this is the reason if something happens to my controller, then I'm able to do advanced power on it, but I'm still going to have a controller with back buttons. I like to be able to keep my thumb and roll. And man, it seems like the roll is really slow on PS5 compared to my other controller. Just remember, so whenever you're boosting, throttle's at 0, and you're minimizing the time between your boost and when you hit and hold the drift. Because you got to boost and hold the drift. Because this is just boosting. Okay? And there, boost is gone. This is boosting and holding the drift. I'm immediately hitting the button again. My finger doesn't even leave the bumper. I'm just boosting and immediately holding down and holding that drift. Let's do boost skip. On boost skipping, I'm doing it. Look, I'm charging those lasers up. I still got boost in my bar. I almost got a full laser charge. There, oops. That's called boost locking, when you can't let go of the boost and get to the drift. And it sucks. and it happens on crappier servers. So you just have to hear it. If you hear yourself going, using that boost, let go. Just let go of the button. But you want to make that. You want to make that from the boost to the drift really short. TIE Defender is going to be a whole different video. I'm not going to get into that now. But just think about the power stuff I told you with the X-Wing, to apply that to the TIE Defender and the X-Wing and the Y-Wing, in what we're going to talk about in these series of videos. I don't know if this is going to be one video or a few videos, but I'm trying to just make something I can direct new players to, that I'm like, here, go to my channel. Here's the basics to start out with. But I want to first get to shunting before I get into any more power management stuff, what to do with the TIE Defender on a controller. I'm trying to get reused to playing this way just so I can help others. It's hard for me to teach when I haven't done it in so long. So I'm trying to just do it. Let's just grab the TIE. So this is a TIE Fighter Slam engine, and let's set up another one that's jet engine. Let's just, I want to put my Cox on here.
Hoped you'd pick that.
Yeah, let's Cox. All right, ion missile is good. Okay, but we're gonna make, yep, jet engine, damper hull. That's fine. Let's not do damper hull. Well, yeah, damper hull's fine. Okay, so we got two builds there. That's Slam. And then I got one that's got jet engine, standard lasers. Yeah, let's do that for the standard lasers. Because there are two different ways to fly. Okay, let's say you want your TIE Fighter. This is my TIE Fighter's jet engine and standard lasers, because you don't want burst cannon. This is kind of the TIE Fighter bully build. The actual bully build, though, would be micro thrust engine. Let's talk about that, too. We can do that one, too. Let's set up a bully build. So, because I got these two are exactly the same. Let's make this one the bully build. This is a traditional dogfight, good pilot ship. You, like, when I say good pilot, they understand the mechanics, all that. Burst cannon, you know, it's harder to hit, but the way you fly this is where we'll start off with this, because this has to do with the beginnings of what you learn. This is where I really began to learn how to shunt, was probably a TIE Fighter bully build, and of course the bomber, and we'll get into that. Let's just start with a TIE Fighter bully build.
Very good then.
Let's make sure I have it selected. All
Looking
right.
for something more
Yep.
personal?
All right. So we got the bully build. All right. Let's launch. Now, me, dogfights, TIE Defender all the way, TIE Bomber second. Most people love the TIE Bomber in dogfights because of its reinforced super hull, and there's a whole team out there that's all they do is kill new players and good players in TIE reinforced bombers. We're not going to get into that. I want you just to learn the basics of shunting. So this is the bully build. Now, traditionally, you can boost gas just like you do in any power management ship. So I'm boosting with my power out of the system. I do have, this is the micro thrust engine, so I will have decay on it. Not as quick as the jet engine's decay. We'll get into that. But I can boost, skip around, not decaying too much. Hardly at all. Of course, this is practice mode, and practice mode, the engines work better, just to say. So this isn't the greatest example, but just trying to get you the basic idea. So I can boost gas, charge my lasers up. There we go. All right, well, let's say I'm burning that, and the recharge is quick, but let's say I burn through all that. I can boost, skip, recharge it really quick. Look at that, super quick. And that's the way you should. But there is a whole way to fly called shunting. Let's let that boost. See how the boost is decaying slowly, not too bad. I've been shooting. Let's say I've been shooting at somebody. I have my power and lasers. I can tap that bumper for the shunt, and suddenly full boost bar. It's going to decay quick because I have it on micro thrust, which gives me a lot of maneuverability with a reinforced hull that I shouldn't have. but because it's microthrust, I get super maneuverability. All right, look, my power's out. Tap again. Got a whole other boost bar. Now, not a lot of laser power. Double tap. I'm holding the drift. I'm still flying, and I have all my power and lasers. So now, this is called dead drift flying. I'm just going to keep my power and lasers the whole time. Okay? It makes me very slow when I have my throttle here compared to if I put it in engines. Now I got about 20 more 20 points faster. Take it out. I dropped down to like 83, I think. Yeah, or 84. All right, so, and you're not as maneuverable like that. But this is how you fly. So you shunt, one tap with the shunt button. Now you can boost drift, hold it, double tap, throw it back into lasers. That burst cannon charges super fast. You can be shooting. And I double tap, back into lasers. And I'm flying, literally drifting. And I'm drifting. I'm holding that speed. Look at that. Throttle at 0. And I can shoot at somebody as I'm going sideways. Double tap. I had such a quick recharge on those lasers. As long as I keep on funneling it back into lasers, that's my battery for boosting. And I'm basically flying around in a dead drift the whole time. It's a very suicidal way to fly. Very, very much hard to hit if you keep it going. But if the servers are laggy, this will betray you like the SLAM engine will. No matter what engine, this way of flying. Because your shunts will lose power quicker. And you can't do it as often. I think the best way, if you're going to fly, like even in a Thai bully like this, is to try to fly where you're old school flying it. You know, you're just boosting and flipping power to another system. Keep charging your flowers. And you get in a dogfight with somebody, you still want to go maneuver. Double shap. And then start using it. Use this when you're like really in a fight with somebody. So you can get maneuverable. Now you go to this dead drift flying. Get away from somebody maybe. Just keep using your lasers to recharge. But if you're like really chasing somebody down, put it in engines. And when you're shooting somebody, double tap so you can keep your maneuverability slightly. But you see, you don't get the you're losing your boost when you do that. That's why it's better to keep it. If you're going to be flipping around like that, now full boost bar. The lasers charge faster than the engines. That's why you keep it in there. Otherwise, balance your power and start getting back into the regular power recharge. So you're not constantly wearing out your gun battery to charge everything. So I like to use a mixture of both if I'm in a shunting ship. But sometimes it is nice just to use your shunt as you're flying and just shoot at people while you're drifting. Just like that. It only works, though, is if you do that boost to drift and you hold that drift. See, I'm holding that drift. And I can drift a long time in this reinforced hull. Look how long I go. And I'm instantly up to 240. I'm holding that drift. I'm still somewhere around 150 right now. And I'm flying. Down to 90, I can be right back up to 240. And you can do this repeatedly. You'll be shooting at people. Let's try it in the Interceptor, so you can see what it's like in a different ship. I got a crash, though. Right? Yeah. Alright, let's crash. Let's look at the Interceptor. Do I have a regular Interceptor build? Yeah, there we go. This, I think I got microthrust engine on it. So, again, I would first practice just doing the regular boost drifting. Let's say like you're like this, you're regular boost drifting, you're on a target. You see them, and you're like, but I want more laser power. Double tap, all your power goes in the lasers, but then tap it back. Like the same deal. You can drift and shoot at people. There you go. This is a really good way to fly with the Interceptor. Because it carries long drifts, it's super maneuverable while it's drifting. But you can definitely go back to like this. Balance your power first. Fly like this. It's 118 is not bad. When it's just regular flying. But you see, I can get those line drifts. 0 throttle. Let me get tower down. See, so 2 ways to fly it: dead drift flying, or just the regular old school flipping your power like that. I think you should use a little combo of both. You're like chasing somebody down regular school flying, so you can keep your maneuverability. You already got power into weapons. Then don't dead drift fly. Use your regular flying. You know, just boost around. But you're on a target or you're evading. Suddenly switch to dead drift flying. Get your boost. Get really maneuverable. See how I'm flipping that back? I'm shunting the power. As soon as I boost, I shunt the power in. And I shunt it back into weapons as I hold it drift. Boost, drift, and shunting it back into weapons. Boost, drift, shunting it back into weapons. Boost, drift, shunting it back into weapons. And I can shoot while I'm doing it. Boost, drift, shunting it into weapons. Of course, I have to take my finger off the trigger to do that, but it's better than me taking my finger off the pivoting stick. This here. I want to be able to turn left and right and pivot and not have to take my thumb off the stick to shunt. That's why I have it on the right bumper. So I can do that and still steer. Steering and moving is a lot more important than shooting your weapon. You can get your chance to shoot your weapon at somebody. But I like keeping my fingers on those bumpers to hold those drifts and shunt that boost. Do it a lot, you will run out of energy. So give yourself time to charge those lasers before you flip it back. You can see how long I'm holding that drift. Look at that. 180, 170, 142. I'm holding the drift button right now. If I let it go, I'll slow down. If I put power up in the engines, I slow down. Or my throttle up. Power in engines. That will slow you down. So every time you're drifting, you should be holding it out of the system. But the shunt dead drift flying, it's always out. You're using your weapons to charge. I'm shooting. I'm going to deplete my lasers down. And let's say I'm shooting at somebody. I'm holding that drift. I'm still at 130 while now. Let's say I'm shooting somebody. Full boost bar. Back to full lasers. There's a little blue bar. You see that little blue bar going up right next to the throttle? It's raising up. Now it's just charging. See that? That's your extra battery bank, basically. See, now that blue bar, I'm depleting it as I'm shunting and drifting. It's getting a little bit lower. But if I hold, there it goes back all the way to the top. But if I'm constantly doing this, I'm depleting it. So you kind of have to give yourself some time to hold it and let it come back or you'll run out. But you have a lot of it. Practice it. Experiment. But that's dead drift flying. In the bomber, switch ships. Let's start just standard laser slam engine. This was my basic bomber thing I would go to. I would always fly like that in the bomber, because doing the bomber like this, where you're like in slam engine, it's all right, but you're so slow to turn. It's such a not maneuverable ship. Dead drift flying gives it a little bit more maneuverability. So look, I can hold drifts for a long time. For a while there, I felt better in a bomber than I did in anything else, because I don't ever have to take my thumbs off the sticks. You don't need back buttons. Everything's controlled with the bumpers. Like that. This is like, the bomber was my ship when I first learned how to do this, before I had back buttons, because it just made it easy. I could always keep my steering and turn and pretty much have most of my power with slam engine, where I don't lose decay. So you could just shunt it once. Look how I'm not decaying. I can hold those drifts. I'm slowly building up my laser energy there. So when I run out, let's just do that. I haven't shunted it back. It's all shunted into engines with my weapons power all the way in, but it's shunted to engines right now. It's not decaying because it's slam engine. Now I almost have a full shield. Hit that, or a weapons bar, sorry. Now I have a full boost bar again. So you can do that. You can just fly around like that and slowly build up your power, but I think it's best to and shunt back. But you can over shunt it. Just remember that. Remember that blue bar? See it going up? Yeah, just gotta watch that blue bar. You do too much of it, you start decaying that blue bar. It's down slower. But if I give it a second, let it come up a little bit, see now that blue bar is coming back. So you really have three things to measure there. You have the boost, the yellow there. You have the blue bar. You'll see it when I take away the yellow. You can see that blue bar. That's your reserve tank. It's a very thin little blue bar next to the throttle there. You see it going up? Let me really drain it. If I keep shunting and drifting like this, it'll drain it. See how much I can do it. Alright, see now I've drained it. See that blue bar is just very little. You got to get that back up. See that little blue bar going back up? That's your reserve. Now I have a full boost bar. Let's do it again. Like next to the throttle, between the yellow throttle measurement and the boost bar that keeps popping up. I'm boosting, trying to use up this there. Now I'm using it up. I'm gonna use all that blue bar up. Watch what happens. All right, blue bar's gone.
Right.
I think I'm so used to doing it. Let's see, that blue bar now it's got to come back. If that blue bar goes out in a normal server, you're probably not going to have a full boost bar or weapons bar. So pay attention to that if you can. It's hard to pay attention to, but just know you go through that blue bar in a regular server, you're probably not going to have a full boost bar when you try to shunt back. You might have none at all. If the server's laggy, you might not have none at all. So there's some downsides to the dead drift flying like that, is if the server's bad, you'll start shunting and losing power because it's like not measuring it. So just remember, that's why I think it's good to get used to being able to, remember, balance your power flying like this, where you're just like you do on a New Republic ship or a Shield ship. And doing a combo of both. So I'm flying around like this. I'm like, especially if you're farming, you're shooting AI targets, you know, like this. You can shunt your power and shoot it back, and then rebuild. See how it's flashing over there? It's telling me right now all my power is shunted to engines. We want to balance that. Look at the TIE bomber. Okay. I balance my power. Should be balanced. Tap. I think it's... There is the method of also shunting with your systems. But that's really hard to do, and I don't recommend it. Not for console players. I recommend trying dead drift flying like this, especially in a bomber. It's really easy to do with standards. Let's show the rotary. Rotary's a little different. You got to give it a little bit longer charging time because the rotary charges slower. All right, so let's try dead drift flying with a rotary, with a slam engine. Dead drift flying, you cannot do this very well with a jet engine. Not like this, because your decay is so quick with a bomber and a jet engine. Like full, this can be pretty lethal. But I can run out of boosts just shunting like this if the servers are bad, especially in a rotary. It's good to balance your power, boost around like this. All right, so let's show. Do I think I have a rotary with jet? Don't, dang it. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Rotary with jet. So rotary with jet. Let's just do that. This way, you would definitely want to be not shunting around like that all the time. I would fly like this, throwing your system out, boost, short drifts. And then if you get on a target, you can shunt, keep your power in engines, because your jet engine's going to charge faster. You get on a target, you can be firing, have a little bit of maneuverability, start to run out of laser power, double tap, more laser power. Let's say you're shooting at somebody, tap, now you got full boost bar again. But now you're going to start recharging your systems. Like that. You're going to shoot at somebody, power in what engines, shoot at them, tap, get out of there if you need to move. So basically what you want to use the shunting for with a jet engine on a bomber is you're going to be using it to get that overcharge on your weapons. And then just tap it back into engines, and you can start recharging your stuff up. Don't forget, you can balance it, start fresh. But you notice if I start skipping, how quick that boost comes out. Look how quickly I lose my boost. There's the decay on the jet engine on a TIE bomber is super fast. So you really have to always be boost gasping with it. And if you are dead drift flying like this, you really have to be shunting your power really quickly every boost. And it doesn't work as well as it does on the slam. So really you want to be just using it, I would just say normal, like this, and then shunt it when you're holding your drift, so you can be like shooting around. I'm holding that drift while you're shooting stuff, maybe doing orbits around something. But I'd throw it back into weapons while you're doing that. And you can do it and keep it in weapons, but you're not getting as long of a drift because your weapons are your powers and engines. So you really want to just rebalance it, let your normal build up of your charge, and just do your regular boost. So every time you're boosting, you're throwing it into weapons. Really easy to do. Getting a little bit of charge in your weapons, and when you really need the weapons, double tap it. Boom, there you go. And keep it in engines with this jet engine, because you see I'm already recharging right there with keeping it in there. Look how quick. And then tap, or double tap, full charge. And I still got boost, and I can get out of there like that. I'm still building it up, and I start shooting at somebody. Yeah, so this is the difference between flying slam and jet. Slam, I recommend dead drift flying, keep your power in weapons the whole time, and shunt back and forth between engines and weapons for your power. And always remember, zero throttle. Practice those things. I think that's the best I can do for just the first basic stuff for power management, flight, a little bit of flight mechanics, and what to do for console players on a controller. I hope this helps you. We can do a whole other video on the TIE Defender, the basic power, but I think that's about it I can cover for now. All right, hope this helps somebody.